What I wanted to know from Wilton was, how does he keep his motivation and his confidence and his enjoyment? One way in which he seems to maintain his motivation is that he is very intelligently flexible. So he'll use his competitiveness, which is an internal trait, an internal strength, and he can change that depending on the environment which he is in, whether he trains in a professional team environment or whether he trains on his own. He wants to be competitive with what he's going to do today, with what he's going to do now. He doesn't get stuck at an outcome goal, so he could have had the outcome goal of, I want to play for the Springboks, and that can be very motivating, but it can also cause a lot of disappointment. It can impair confidence if it is not reached, or if it's not reached in the specific time that he set out to. And he successfully changes his focus toward more of a performance goal of, I want to be at my best, I want to compete with whoever is in my environment, with the youngsters coming in, compete with their pace, compete with their quickness, compete with their fitness. When he was a junior, he was motivated to compete with the seniors. And now that he's a senior, he's motivated to be as quick and as strong and as fit as the young players. He's motivated to be competitive on the field with rugby-related skills. And then, during the lockdown period, he's motivated to compete with his training regime, trying to see what he can add and what he can do differently to give him an edge, to make him more competitive compared to the next player or to the next person. So he uses one of his inherent strengths, his competitiveness, and he adapts that to his current environment. And in that way, he still taps into that trait. He is aware of this inner strength of his, he is aware of his competitiveness, and he's able to draw from that to fuel his motivation. Because it is driven from an internal strength, it becomes an intrinsic type of motivation, and that is associated with more energy, more vitality, compared to extrinsic sources of motivation, such as being forced to do it by a coach or doing it for extrinsic rewards, such as match fees. And I really believe that that plays a significant role in keeping his high level of motivation. He is also able to tap into new sources of motivation. It was really precious to see the role that his son plays, and that his son will be the one to say, let's go train. And it will be really interesting to see how he perceives himself through his son's eyes, as possibly someone who is strong, who is committed, who is motivated, someone who is set on those values. And even if he had disappointments in his own eyes, in his son's eye, he is Superman. And so he can do the next task, he can do the next training session, not as someone that has disappointed himself, but as Superman. So experiencing how his son sees him becomes a massive source of motivation. It is also an intrinsic source of motivation because it taps into his identity as his son's father. It is a form of integrated motivation, that I am this committed, hardworking person that my son sees me to be. And that is much more powerful and also lasts longer than an external type of motivation, such as someone telling him, work hard. What do you enjoy about your sport? It's easy to focus exclusively on one moment or one feeling, like winning a league or a competition, winning the final, or like making a great tackle or having a good ball carry. And that is fine, it's good to enjoy those things. But what Wilton does well is he's very much aware of alternative things that he enjoys, a variety of things. He's very much aware of how he enjoys being part of the team and having contact with teammates and with the coach. Enjoyment is the most intrinsic form of motivation. Doing something because of the inherent enjoyment of it, because it is fun. And that is also the type of motivation that can give so much energy. But can the enjoyment of something from a different context, like a joke with a teammate, can it affect his motivation and enjoyment in the next training session? Absolutely. The emotional center of the brain, the limbic system, where we experience the intensity of our emotions, it works by releasing neurochemicals such as dopamine, and that system works slower than our senses and thoughts. So a feeling of enjoyment or excitement or interest, it will remain in the limbic system and affect new incoming sensory information. It will affect how he interprets the next thing he does. It will also affect how he sees himself as a rugby player. He will tend to focus on and remember related memories of enjoyment and memories of excitement. In a state of enjoyment or positive emotion, he can be more creative and he can learn more effectively. He can also be more resilient to any stresses or disappointment that he experiences. If he wants to enhance his enjoyment even more, he can schedule time to be intentionally mindful of things he enjoyed in the past day or in the past week or in the past month. He can also anticipate joyful events, so he can start doing imagery exercises of events that he'll expect he will enjoy in the future. And that can be so powerful because that mindfulness of a past or a future event generates an immediate emotion that affects his perspective of the sport and of himself as a sportsman in the present. Then Wilton also seemed intentional to seek out experiences that he could possibly enjoy. He decided to change his environment, to open himself up to new experiences, which may have the risk of being stressful, but also the opportunity of being enjoyable, of being novel. So he opened himself up to new experiences, and also he goes in with an expectation that there will be things to enjoy, there will be new things to learn. Because he goes in with an expectation that he's going to enjoy it, it opens him up to see and to experience more such experiences and to store it deeper within his memory. In a way, that expectation is like taking a future reward, a future positive experience, and benefiting from it now in the present. How does he maintain his confidence? Now we know that confidence is greatly related to enjoyment as well as to motivation. And if a large part of his motivation is to be competitive, he will draw a lot of confidence out of all the small instances in which he experiences being competitive. So every time he tries out a new novel exercise, which is different than the next player, and he does that with skill, he improves his skill with it, that will automatically add to his confidence. A large part of confidence exists in the hippocampus that stores emotional memory. That's why a player or an athlete that is on form has rich, recent memories of great performance and of great confidence, and that fuels current performances, whereas a player that lost form or struggles with form has memories of disappointment and of stress and anxiety. Those memories interfere with retrieving the memories of confidence. They interfere with retrieving memories of good performances. So in this time of lockdown, the type of memories that are most present for an athlete will likely determine their level of confidence or their level of stress and anxiety. So Wilton's current level of confidence was fair, most likely affected by his memories of the previous season, but also by his interpretation of his whole rugby career, where he is currently in his rugby life. That meaning, is that a source of confidence or a source of disappointment? We explored his meaning, and he had a very refreshing way of looking at this lockdown period. Now, although there are no current matches which can serve as sources for confident memories, we used an integrated imagery type of exercise to really harness some of his most confident memories, to learn to access those emotions with sufficient intensity, and to learn ways to trigger those emotions in increasingly quicker and quicker times.